What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Geek Pantheon. I am Eric, and today I want to do a video about creating magic items, and specifically for the new campaign that I'm running that I dropped a video on. I am wanting to incentivize going into dungeons and finding cool things a la old school D&D, at least starting out. That's how I want the players to be engaged with the world when they first get there. They are adventurers, they are explorers, and I've been thinking about how to make magic items feel special, feel like more than what they are in 5th edition currently. And Matt Colville has talked about this quite a bit, that, you know, with modern iterations of D&D, you get your cool stuff through leveling and not from the items that you acquire. They are merely a boost to the things that you can do. And I've thought about some different ways to basically switch the focus. One thing that Matt has mentioned is feats, making the optional feats rule not an option. And basically saying, when you hit these ability score increase levels, that is your only option. You can't pick feats because feats are a reward. I'm going to be attaching feats to items and weapons and armor and things like that you find in the world. And I like that in theory. I like that in concept because it makes much more sense to me, like the Sentinel feat. If that's attached to an amazing shield or greatsword or some other martial item that grants you this new ability, as opposed to, oh, I hit 4th level, so now I know how to do this. That just is more evocative to me mentally. So I might pitch that to my players, say, hey, how would you all feel about feats not being an option? Also because with the overwhelming majority of my table being brand new players or very inexperienced players who have only played D&D once or twice before, not once or twice campaigns, but 1 or 2 sessions. Removing feats from the leveling process can make it less daunting when you hit those levels of like, oh, what do I pick? It's just, you know, you get a +1 to 2 different scores or a +2 to 1 score, and then you can move on. And then I can curate the feats and dole them out based on play style and what role they want to fill in the party and things like that. But I have an additional wrinkle that I'm doing, and this will be true whether or not I go with the feats idea. And that is, I have been going through the player's handbooks for 4th edition and finding awesome powers that the skills, whatever term you want to use. I think every class had a different term for each of them. But anyway, finding different cool abilities that these classes granted to players, and I'm going to attach those to magic items. Like, yeah, you get this magic sword that gives you an awesome ability. And I'm going to show you some of the highlights because I know a lot of you 4th edition, but I really do feel like we're seeing a 4th edition renaissance, very much led by Matt Colville, which I'm appreciative of as somebody that really loved 4th edition. The Flea Monsters Kickstarter is phenomenal. The packet that they released recently, you can go pre-order it to get a look at the packet that they dropped with all of the orcs in there, and it's great from a monster design standpoint. Anyway, I wanted to go through and find cool ways that, you know, a sword might have this just ability on them that you can use it whenever. For those of you that don't know, 4th edition's abilities were broken down into 3 categories: at will, encounter, and daily. And what that meant: at will, as many times as you want; encounter, once per encounter; and daily, once per day. So translating that to 5th edition, at will would obviously still be at will. This is just a property of the weapon that you can do whenever you want. Encounter, I'd probably make it the number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest, and then additionally once per long rest for the daily abilities. But I want to go through some of the ones that I pulled and I'm highlighting. Now I'm going to have like classes attached to them, like cleric weapon. That's just, I'm basing that off of the class that it was attached to in 4th edition, but obviously being a magic item, you give this to anybody. because also none of them are reliant on spellcasting or anything like that. So because spellcasting wasn't a thing in 4th edition, just everybody used these abilities and powers, which made it very simple. So anyway, let's get into it first with the cleric weapon. So looking at this guy right here, the Righteous Brand. I also like the flavor text that you get with each of these powers because it gives you a sense of how it works. So Righteous Brand, you smite your foe with your weapon and brand it with a ghostly glowing symbol of your deity's anger. By naming one of your allies when the symbol appears, you add divine power to that ally's attack against the branded foe. Now let's look at this card and kind of break it down and how we can translate it to 5th edition. At will, once again, this will just be a property of this weapon that you give to the player. Standard action, it's an action. Melee weapon, target one creature. Attack strength versus AC. So obviously this would be, you know, your weapon attack bonus. Like this is just a weapon attack. You make a melee weapon attack with this. It deals the weapon's damage plus your strength modifier. Nothing groundbreaking here. And one ally within 5 squares of you, that would be 25 feet for those of you that didn't play 4th edition. Within 25 feet of you gains a power bonus to melee attack rolls against the target equal to your strength modifier until the end of your next turn. So, if I'm a cleric and I hit somebody with my weapon, using this particular weapon with the Righteous Brand, I can then, if I hit, dictate an ally, and that ally until the end of my next turn gets, depending on my strength score, +2, +3. If you wanted to avoid the number crunch, then you could just say advantage if you like. That mathematically equates to a +5 bonus, which is a lot. So I'm going to be more inclined to just do a numerical because it's one round. Now, granted, this cleric will be dishing this out a lot once you give them this weapon, more than likely. So, you know, keep that in mind. But if it's a +2, +3 bonus and one ally gets that, that's great. That's so evocative. The flavor text, you know, you are, this is clearly a weapon sanctified by your deity, allowing you to bolster your allies with their divine power. And then for a cleric's holy symbol, I pulled Divine Aid, which is an encounter power. So number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. It's an action, ranged 5, which means within 25 feet. Once again, we're dealing in squares. So range 5, 25 feet. Target you or one ally. So you can target yourself or somebody within 25 feet of you. The target makes a saving throw with a bonus equal to your charisma modifier. Now, I know the primary skills for a lot of these classes change from 4th edition to 5th edition. So if this is a cleric's holy symbol, you'd probably switch that to wisdom, since wisdom is going to be their primary spell casting score. So switch it to equal to your wisdom modifier. But yeah, that's like, it's your action, but you are granting a saving throw with a bonus, which is awesome. And being able to do this 2, 3, 4 times a day can be a lifesaver for somebody that's just rolling terribly, or maybe they've missed a couple times, but they're right on the cusp of succeeding, and all they need is that +3 to get over the hump, or +4. So yeah, I love this as an item to give to a party member. Like, it can be the cleric, it could be the paladin, it could be anybody that is more of a support type role. Obviously, you probably wouldn't want to give this to the fighter, because the fighter is really going to want to give up their action to provide a support when they could be attacking 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 times. So that makes sense. So, but that's just standard for giving out magic items. You give them out to certain players, certain classes, that kind of thing. Next up is a weapon for the fighter. This is from the fighter class, or it can be any martial character. Steel Serpent Strike. You stab viciously at your foe's knee or foot to slow him down. No matter how tough he is going to favor that leg for a time. Encounter, so once again, proficiency bonus. Standard action melee weapon. It's just a standard melee weapon attack. The damage, though, is double damage. Granted, 4E's math was a lot bigger, so for this, I probably wouldn't do that. I probably wouldn't add the multiplier to the damage. This is just an additional property that you can add onto your normal attack, a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per day, and that is the target is slowed. So the language for 5th edition would be the target treats all terrain as difficult terrain, or all movement as if it were moving through difficult terrain, since we don't have a slowed condition yet. It was in the playtest material for 1D&D, and cannot shift until the end of the next turn. That would change to cannot disengage until the end of their next turn, which I love this for, like, if you're trying to chase someone or keep someone from getting away, being able to pull this ability out and just stab them in the foot. So everything they've have their movement and they cannot disengage. So when they go to get away from you, you're going to get an opportunity attack if you still have your reaction. I love this for a martial character, a frontline fighter, being able to manage the battlefield and control when and where someone can leave. And then for their shield, a really cool ability, no opening. You raise your weapon or shield to block an opening in your defenses. This is, once again, an encounter power, so proficiency bonus. It's an immediate interrupt, which would be a reaction in 5th edition language. An enemy attacks you and has combat advantage against you. So an enemy has advantage on an attack roll against you. Effect, cancel the advantage. So, I mean, you could word it as impose disadvantage to cancel it out. I would probably just keep the language as cancel the advantage they were about to have on that attack. And yeah, I love this. Makes so much sense for a fighter with a shield to be able to, like, if a rogue is like sneaking up behind him, flanking, if you're doing the flanking rules, or something else is granting advantage, just being as a player to be able to go, nope, raising my shield, good luck getting through the defenses. So I think that's a really fun item to give. Now, I have included the marked rules. Combat challenge is what it's called for the fighter. This would be an interesting thing to give to a fighter as a feat or as part of a piece of armor or weapon or whatever. But for those of you that didn't play 4th edition, the languages in combat, it's dangerous to ignore a fighter. Every time you attack an enemy, whether the attack hits or misses, you can choose to mark that target. The mark lasts until the end of your next turn. While a target is marked, it takes a -2 penalty to attack rolls for any attack that does not include you as a target. A creature can be subject to only one mark at a time. A new mark supersedes. In addition, whenever a marked enemy that is adjacent to you shifts or makes an attack that does not include you, you can make a melee basic attack against that enemy as an immediate interrupt. So break that out into 5th edition language. If you wanted to introduce the marked condition into 5th edition, essentially, when this character attacks, whether or not they hit or miss, when they attack, they can mark that target. An important thing is you can only mark one target at a time. So that's an additional thing, unless you have an additional ability that allows you to mass mark. So you mark a target, and it says until the end of your next turn, so that makes sense. While it's marked, it has a -2 penalty to attack rolls. You can make that disadvantage if you want to keep the disadvantage 5th edition mechanic in play. That does not include you as a target. And additionally, if they try to disengage or attack somebody that's not you while adjacent to you, you can make an immediate attack against them. You get an opportunity attack, even if they try to disengage and move away from you. So I think this could be an interesting thing, especially if you have a party that like wants/needs that true frontline fighter, somebody that's just going to stand there and soak up all the damage. Being able to have a reliable method to manage the battlefield, I think, is just a great addition to the system. And I would absolutely, I'm considering giving out a herald, like a tabard or a heraldry flag or something that basically gives one of my players the ability to mark targets and be able to manage the battlefield in that way. Because I think it's really cool, and I think it makes sense, and I think it's fun. Okay, this Paladin weapon, it's from the Paladin class. I absolutely love. It's an at-will, so this would just be a property of the weapon. Valiant Strike. As you bring your weapon bare, the odds against you add strength to your attack. So it's your melee weapon attack bonus, as it normally would be, +1 per enemy adjacent to you. And then everything else is just, it's basic weapon plus your strength modifier. But the idea of you getting a bonus when you're surrounded by enemies, and you're not attacking all of them, it's just you're fighting against the odds. You're holding that line. You've got your shield, you've got your sword, and being beset upon by enemies fuels your strive to carry on. And so Valiant Strike is a super fun weapon, and it would encourage that player, whoever has that, to get up in the fray, to be surrounded by enemies. And then additionally, if they have that marked condition, then they can manage the battlefield in that way. But I absolutely love Valiant Strike. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a great way to incentivize a player to get up in the thick of things. Okay, and Paladin's Holy Symbol or Shield or whatever item you want to give them. This is a daily power, so once per long rest, on pain of death, you invoke a prayer that racks your foe with terrible pain and causes further pain whenever he makes an attack. So standard action. So this is your action. Range 25 feet. Target one creature. Attack is charisma versus will. So this would be probably a charisma saving throw is how I would do this. Or you could have it be a using the spell attack modifier if you wanted to. But I would probably go with a saving throw against their wisdom or charisma would be the two. And then 3d8 plus your charisma modifier is the damage. Once per round, this target takes 1d8 damage after making any attacks on its turn. So you're basically putting a pacifist mark on the creature, and if it breaks it, it takes more damage. And then, you know, it has a save at the end of each of its turns, and once it saves, that condition ends. Half damage is the miss. And if you wanted to keep this on a successful saving throw, is how we would add this language, they take half damage, and once per round, the target takes 1d4 damage after making any attack on its turn. Probably, I would make it half damage on a successful saving throw, no continuous burn. That's how I'm going to modify this for whatever magic item I slap this on, because this is once again battlefield management. It's allowing the paladin or the cleric or whoever is wielding this holy symbol, or maybe it's an arcane symbol, maybe the warlock has it, and it's beckoning its pact owner. But yeah, doing damage to the target and saying, if you continue to attack, you will continue to burn, is so cool. Next one is for rangers that have the 2 weapon fighting style. They've gone down that road as opposed to ranged. Dire Wolverine Strike and counter power, so proficiency bonus. Enemies surround you, much to their chagrin, as you slash them to pieces with the ferocity of a wounded dire wolverine. Standard action, close burst 1. So this basically means any enemy that is adjacent to you. So within 5 feet of you in every direction. And you must be wielding 2 weapons to use this, so keep that in mind. Target is every enemy in the burst that you can see. Standard attack and standard damage, but you're getting to attack everybody around you, and you're just a flurry of blades swirling around, attacking everybody around you. So yeah, I mean, this is super evocative, super fun. And you know, Dire Wolverine Strike, this is very Wolverine-esque of just having the claws out and going nuts with everyone around him. And next up is the Ranger Bow, Split the Tree. You fire 2 arrows at once, which separate in mid-flight to strike 2 different targets. You know, very Robin Hood, Hawkeye, Green Arrow type stuff. So daily power, so once per long rest. Standard action, 2 creatures within 3 squares of each other. This would be 15 feet of each other. Attack, dexterity versus AC. This would just be a ranged weapon attack is how you would translate this to 5th edition. Make 2 attack rolls, take the higher result and apply it to both targets. So you have automatic advantage. So make this attack with advantage, and when you hit, you deal double weapon damage on both targets. So, I would keep that. I would keep the double weapon damage on that, because it's a once per long rest thing. You're doing something amazing with your bow, and you're attacking 2 targets, and then you can't do it again until a long rest. So I think for something like this, the double weapon damage is fine. And then if you crit, then it's quadruple weapon damage, which huge on 2 targets. So I think that's really fun, and it's just a cool thing that the ranger can do, of knocking 2 arrows and splitting them and hitting 2 different people for a crap ton of damage. And they have advantage, so they're more likely to hit and they're more likely to crit, and everybody's happy. Next up is a rogue weapon, riposte strike. With a calculated strike, you leave your foe vulnerable to a riposte should he dare to attack you. So this is an at will, so this would just be a property of the light blade, so probably a rapier or a dagger, something along those lines. Standard action. Melee weapon attack uses dexterity, so this is definitely a finesse weapon. Target is 1 creature. It's 1 weapon damage plus your dexterity modifier on the damage. Might keep its strength. One weapon damage plus your dexterity modifier. If the target attacks you before the start of your next turn, you make your riposte against the target as a reaction. It's a strength versus AC attack that deals 1 weapon damage plus your strength modifier. So probably if you have a dex build, it's going to be slightly less. And you could keep it, it's a finesse weapon. You can attack with your dexterity if you want. That's how I'm not going to change which stat that you use for the attack. Basically for 5th edition, it would state if the target attacks you before starting your next turn, you make your riposte to take an automatic opportunity attack using a reaction against the target. And then, just do the same attack that you would have done if they moved away from you. Cool. And then this one, it rogue tools, rogue gloves, something like that. But quick fingers is the name of the power. You can pilfer a coin pouch in the blink of an eye. It's encounter, so proficiency bonus number per long rest. It's a minor action, which would be a bonus action in 5th edition terms. And the prerequisite is you have to be trained in thievery, so this would be sleight of hand in 5th edition terms. So basically, before you give this out to somebody, it's somebody that is proficient with sleight of hand. And the effect is they can make a sleight of hand check as part of this action, even if the check is normally a standard action. So think about, the rogue can pickpocket people in the middle of a fight. Like you can, if you're trying to get something off of a person or you just want to get some coins off of them, you can make that sleight of hand check as you're stabbing them in the back, get their coin purse. And that's very roguey. That's a very roguish thing to do, is be able to make that sleight of hand check as a bonus action, just quickly grabbing the coin purse. I love this. And it can also be a safety net, because let's say, they're making a skill check, just they're trying to pickpocket somebody and they fail. I would let them basically get advantage on the check by using a charge of this, where it's like, can I use one of my charges of quick fingers to try and roll again really quick to snatch it? It's like, sure. Yeah. Burn it. Let's do this. So I love this. I thought that was a really fun power. Warlock. Curse of the Dark Dream. You inflict a waking nightmare upon your enemy so that he can no longer tell what is real and what exists only in his mind. Under its influence, he staggers about trying to avoid falling from imaginary heights or stepping on unreal serpents. So this is a standard action, ranged 10, so within 50 feet. One creature, wisdom or charisma saving throw. I'm not sure. Hit is 3d8 charisma plus your charisma modifier psychic damage. And you can slide the target 3 squares. So that just basically means you can force them to move 15 feet in any direction. And you can, as a minor action, so using your bonus action on subsequent turns, you can slide the target 1 square. And you can do this whether you hit or miss on the initial attack. I'm probably going to have it be just a bonus action, and they get a saving throw at the end of each turn to end this condition. So they would get to continue to make the wisdom or charisma saving throws to stop this, but they still see the chasm or the snakes. And so you're continuing to move them 5 foot increments in any direction that you want. It is forced movement, so no opportunity attacks or anything like that, but you can move them around the battlefield. And I just love how evocative this, you're entering their mind, you're making them see things that aren't there, and you're continuing to do that. And making them move around the battlefield. So I think this is super cool. And then Warlocks Cloak is what I put. Ethereal Stride. You shift your body out of phase with the world for an instant, teleporting a short distance. When you reappear, you're still somewhat out of phase and difficult to harm or hinder for a short time. Encounter ability, so proficiency bonus per long rest. This is your movement. This is your move action. So this would use all your movement, basically. So in exchange for your entire movement speed, you can teleport 15 feet and you gain a +2 bonus to all defenses until the end of your next turn. So basically what I would say, translating this into 5th edition rules, is any attacks against you until the end of your next turn have disadvantage, and you have advantage on all saving throws until the end of your next turn, kind of showing that you're still phasing into existence. So this is a great, I'm hurting, I got to get out of dodge, and for at least one round, I am more defensible as a result of it. So yeah, it's a super cool evocative thing. Okay. Warlords. For those of you that never played 4th edition, the Warlord class is probably the biggest gap in 5th edition of just like, they tried to do something like it with the Battlemaster, but they didn't pull it off. The Warlord was such a cool, like, strength and intelligence based fighter-esque class. It was a martial class that used its intelligence to manage the battlefield. It was the captain, it was the general, it was the field leader. And so I pulled 3 abilities from the Warlord. One of them is one of the crazy high ones, just to show you what the Warlord was capable of. But first off, the Warlord Shield, Furious Smash. You slam your shield into an enemy, bash him with your weapon's haft, or drive your shoulder into his gut. Your attack doesn't do much damage, but your anger inspires your allies to match your ferocity. So this is at will. So with their shield, standard action. So this is your action. It would be a strength saving throw. I would say it's strength versus fortitude is the attack. Or you could just have it be a melee weapon attack with your shield. But the hit is deal damage equal to your strength modifier, so pretty low. Then choose one ally adjacent to either you or the target. This ally applies your charisma modifier as a power bonus to the attack roll and damage roll on their next attack against the target. If the ally does not attack the target by the end of his or her next turn, it is lost. So yeah, this is... I would love this for like a Paladin. It would work really well since they're going to have a high charisma and a high strength, presumably. But yeah, this idea of being able to use your action to deal a little bit of damage, but add additional damage to an ally's attack, and ensure that they're going to hit. So let's say you give this to a barbarian or a paladin, or I guess a fighter, like somebody like that can do this, and then, you know, add it to the rogue or the paladin's attack roll when they're going to be using their smite or getting their sneak attack bonus and trying to up the likelihood that they're going to be able to attack. And, you know, you might make this a bonus action if you wanted to, because the argument can be made, well, why wouldn't I just attack? Because that's going to deal presumably more damage than my charisma modifier being added to somebody else's attack, which is fair, but you're also increasing likelihood that they're going to hit with their attack, which without that additional bump, who knows? So you may be down more damage because sure, you did an additional 1d8, 1d10 damage depending on your weapon, but you got to roll that die. You might roll 2 or 3, and if you got a +3, +4 charisma bonus, well, now you would have done more if you would have just done this ability. So, you know, it's a cool thing, but I would highly recommend like finding the Warlord's different powers because they were so fun and so cool. Then the Warlord's Cloak, this is an encounter power, so proficiency bonus per long rest. Leaf on the Wind. Like a leaf caught in the autumn wind, your foe is driven by the flow of battle. Your fierce attacks force him to give ground. So this is standard weapon attack with your melee weapon. Double weapon damage plus your strength modifier. Once again, might just keep it 1 weapon damage since this is a multiple times per long rest. But you are an ally adjacent to the target, swap places with that target. So once again, this is cool, evocative battlefield management of being able to pull a target, swap places. So if the target has gone into your backline and is attacking your cleric or your wizard, you can run up behind them, hit them, and then pivot and basically get in between them and whoever you're trying to protect. Or if you're trying to get behind their front lines, if you're trying to get to their healer, you can hit them, swap places with them, and then all of a sudden you're on the right side of the battle and you can go deeper into the enemy lines. So super cool, super way to change the tide of battle. I lied. I have 4 Warlord things. Another Warlord weapon. This is a daily ability. Lead the attack. Under your direction, arrows hit their marks and drive blades home. Standard action, melee weapon attack against one creature. 3 weapon damage is what this lists, plus your strength modifier. Until the end of the encounter, you and each ally within 5 squares of you, 25 feet, gain a power bonus to attack rolls against the target equal to 1 plus your intelligence modifier. And then if you miss, you don't do any damage, but you and each ally within 5 squares of you gain a +1 power bonus to attack rolls against the target. So this, I believe, in a later errata got nerfed to where it was until the end of your next turn, not until the end of the encounter, because, oh boy, like leading the encounter with this against like a single big bad, like running up to the dragon, hitting with this, and then giving a +6 or even like a +4 to every single attack roll against that target is
pretty powerful. And in 5th edition terms, like just be advantage. Like you grant advantage to every ally. I would keep it because I'm keeping the nerf on the ability. So until the end of the encounter, switching it to until the end of your next turn. So you'll benefit from it. You and each ally within 25 feet of you gain a power bonus to attack rolls against the target equal to 1 plus your intelligence modifier. You can keep it as that, or if you want to do charisma, since that is kind of more evocative of like a battlefield leader leading the charge, if you want. Or you can modify this stuff based on the player that you're giving it to. If the player that you want to give this magic item to has a high wisdom score, put it on that. Yeah, you can you have insight into the battle. Your perception is high, and you can convey that to the rest of the party. Or you can just make an advantage, like I said, so that way you're not reliant on a modifier. And yeah, I would probably, since this is a once per long rest ability, keep the 3 weapon damage. Like this is a go crazy, go whack 'em hard. If you crit, good for you. You've dealt a crap ton of damage. And that might be imbalanced. I might have to nerf that down the line. Or make it double damage like the Split the Tree Ranger ability. Just make it, you get the crit damage, and then if you crit, you get double crit damage. But yeah, like I said, these are all early concepts that have not been play tested in any way, but I love the abilities, and so I'm going to use them. But yeah, I would modify this one to be until the end of your next turn rather than until the end of the encounter, because even the developers are like, that's too much. Tone it down. Okay, and then this one, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, it's Warlord Attack 29. So this is once you reach 29th level, because 4th edition went to 30th level. So this is something that you would give like a late game. Defy death. You leap to your ally's side and spare him from the jaws of death. So this is a once per long rest reaction. So it uses your reaction. The trigger is a creature attacks your ally. Target the attacking creature. As part of this action, you can move twice your speed to reach the target without provoking opportunity attacks. So you just sprint through the battlefield. Nothing can touch you. The attack is a standard weapon attack. The hit is 7 weapon damage plus your strength modifier. And the target's attack misses. So you literally stop them from hitting. Miss is half damage, and the target's attack deals half damage if it hits. And the effect is an immediate reaction. The attacked ally can spend a healing surge. So, adapting this to 5th edition, once again, this would be a late level. I would alter it to be, all the setup is the same. Reaction, trigger, a creature attacks your ally. As part of this action, you can move twice your speed to reach the target without provoking opportunity attacks. Standard weapon attack. 7 weapon damage is a lot of damage, especially with the numbers being so. 4th edition, the numbers got crazy high. So what I would alter is if you hit with the attack, any hit is a crit. You crit on a hit, and the target's attack misses. So you get the double damage. But is that a letdown? No, because the additional ability is very good. Miss, half damage, and the target's attack deals half damage if it hits. And the effect, using their reaction, the ally that triggered this can spend hit die as if they're taking a short rest. Because this is a very ridiculously high ability, and I'm nerfing the crap out of the damage that's dealt, so I'm buffing the healing ability. So this is a great, I don't know. I like sprinting to your ally's side as they are about to take the death's blow. And, it's that evocative moment of they're on their knees, blood trickling from their nose, and the enemy raises their weapon, and then the blade pierces their chest, and they're like, ugh, and falls down. And you see your ally standing there, and it bolsters your spirits, and you gain hit points as if you had just rested for an hour and you're back in the fight. I love the Warlock. It's wicked cool. So, a wizard's wand. So wizards, the magic users were difficult because a lot of their powers are based off of spells. So wizards have prestidigitation as an at-will ability, which is they have prestidigitation as a cantrip. So I found some that I thought were really cool and not evocative of an existing spell. So Big B's Icy Grasp. This is a daily ability for a wizard. You conjure a giant floating hand made of chiseled ice that clutches foes and freezes them. So this is your action. Range 20, so that would be 100 feet. You conjure a 5-foot tall hand of ice in an unoccupied space within range, and the hand attacks. As a move action, you can move the hand up to 6 squares. So using your movement, you can basically move the hand using your movement, essentially. Target one creature adjacent to the hand. Attack. So this would be a dexterity saving throw, since it's intelligence versus reflex. 2d8 plus your intelligence modifier, cold damage, and the hand grabs the target. If the target attempts to escape, just use your spell save DC. And then as a bonus action, a target grabbed by the hand takes an additional 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier, cold damage, when you sustain this power. As a standard action, you can attack another target with the hand, but it must release the target that it currently has grabbed. But yeah, you can just grab them and hold on to them, and they continue to freeze, and they can attempt to escape using their action. But yeah, that's super fun, super cool. Wizard Staff, Lightning Serpent. There's another once per long rest ability. 50 feet, target one creature. Once again, dexterity saving throw. 2d12 plus your intelligent modifier, lightning damage, and the target takes 5 ongoing poison damage and is slowed, so treats all terrain like difficult terrain. Man, cannot wait for them to actually have the slowed condition codified into these rules. Save ends both. So you like lightning snake like comes out and both does lightning damage and poisons the target. And that is covering all of the Player's Handbook 1 classes. I pulled some from all the other Player's Handbooks, but this video has gone on quite a while, and I think you have an idea of what I'm getting at. All of these abilities are fairly easy to port over into 5th edition as cool abilities, cool spell-like abilities, like you would see on a monster card, but you can attach them to a magical weapon and give it to the players, or a magic item and give it to the players. And it can be fun and evocative and allow them to do cool, epic things that they don't get access through standard leveling, to make gaining magic items exciting. The first time my players in my upcoming game get out of a dungeon with a haul of loot that they each have like these cool things, that's going to super incentivize them, like, holy crap, this is what magic items can do. We got next dungeon, please. We got to keep going. And that's what I'm going for. That's what I'm trying to do. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. Let me know if you think I'm crazy, or what 4th edition powers do you long to see a return from and attached to magic items. Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Eric, and I will see you next time.